Listen on to learn how a bootstrapped business has managed to double their sales every single year by focusing in on an awesome story, an awesome mission, and an excellent product.
It's the eCommerce Master Plan podcast, here to help you solve your marketing problems and grow your e-commerce business. Cutting through the hype to bring you inspiration and advice from the e-commerce sector and beyond. Here's your host, Chloe Thomas.
Hello and welcome. It's great to have you here. A super inspiring episode coming up for you today. I made so many notes whilst I was talking to today's guest. I totally filled the piece of paper I make my podcast episode recording notes on. Essentially, what we're going to be talking about splits into four key areas. We're going to start off by talking about what led them to found the business, the founder story, I suppose. Then we're going to get into the team, where Sam's going to talk about how they started off, and there's some really clever things in there about being a bit creative in terms of getting the right skills into the business, and how they're now looking at growing the team. Now they've grown to a $2 million business. Thirdly, we get into the mission of the business, how they're taking that sustainability play and making it work for them. And then we finish the main part before we get into the top tips with his advice around customer acquisition. As I said, they're a bootstrap business. They've taken no money, no investment to get this far, and they've still at least doubled sales every single year. They've been in existence since 2018. So lots of really interesting insight going on here. And please do listen to the end of the episode even, so you don't miss out on Sam's top tips, which are frequently described as the best bit of the show. And he's got some awesome suggestions for you in that part. Getting an online business off the ground is not easy. So if you find yourself working late, tackling a to-do list that's a mile long with your fifth cup of coffee by your side, remember, great email doesn't have to be complicated. That's what Clavio is for. It's the email and SMS platform built to help e-commerce brands earn more money by creating genuine customer relationships. Once you set up a free Clavio account, you can start sending beautiful branded messages in minutes, thanks to drag and drop design templates and built-in guidance. And with e-commerce specific recommendations and insights, you can keep growing your business as you go. Get started with a free account at clavio.com/masterplan. That's KLAVIYO.com/masterplan. And now to introduce today's special guest. Samuel Leroux is co-founder at SOLIOS Watches, a disruptive D2C brand selling high-quality, elegant and eco-friendly solar-powered watches. Founded in 2018, they were the first watch company to become a B Corp and have been at least doubling every year, which is super impressive when you consider their bootstrapping. That means they now have over 10,000 customers, and this year even should hit over $2 million via their Shopify store. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Chloe. Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you on the show, and congrats on your success thus far. That is super impressive growth stats.
Thank you. It's we've come a long way, but there's a lot to be done still. We're trying to disrupt a very, very old industry and influence people in having better life habits. So I think it's a war that can never be won, and there's a lot to do, but we're pretty much happy with how it started so far.
And how did you end up founding this e-commerce brand and getting into e-commerce?
It's a good question. To be honest, at first we were not expecting to be in e-commerce. I met my partner Alex at university. We both were studying in finance, so nothing to do with entrepreneurship. But both of us had entrepreneur ambitions and wanted to start eventually our own business. But it's not because you want to launch something that the ideas comes with it. The only thing we knew is that we wanted to have a positive impact. And that was almost 10 years ago. And eco-friendly was not something that everybody were talking about. So we wanted to make it bigger and let people know about our life habits. So at first we had some ideas to make the building more eco-friendly, or some ideas just to raise awareness about sustainability. But we were not engineers, we were not programmers, and we were not millionaires either. So it was quite hard to do a business that we had no expertise. And that's how we started thinking about, okay, so what can we do that will raise awareness about sustainability? And that's how we discovered that we wanted to offer a product directly to the consumer that is a better alternative than what already exists on the market, but also influence its audience into having better life habits. And we were a huge watch fan at the time. We're still a huge watch fan, of course. But when we traveled, so we got the idea when we traveled to Europe, and we saw that all the fashion trends in Europe are always in advance 2 to 5 years to what we have here in North America. And that's when we realized that all the elegant and minimalist fashion trend were very booming. But in the watches, there were no watches that were, yes, there were some elegant watches, but none of them were either built with sustainability in mind or durability. There were some very super expensive watches that will last forever, but they're not accessible. And if you want to address if you want to have a bigger impact, you cannot build a product that is just reserved to the elite. You have to offer something that is more for the mass market. And that's how we came up with the idea of creating a watch that would remain accessible, that would be sustainable, and of course will last more than just 2 to 3 years, which is the average lifespan of a battery in a watch right now. That's how we came up with the solar-powered watch idea, and the best way to sell them would be through e-com. So we had to discover that although we were a watch fan, we had to discover how to create a watch, because it's not because you like watches that you know how to build them. And we had to discover everything about e-com. So we really just jump in, and we founded SOLIOS in 2018, but it was a much longer adventure, because creating the first prototype and the first website took over almost 4 years before that.
Wow, that's some R&D phase.
It was quite a challenge because, it's quite easy to create a watch. You can go to any watch fair and just ask for a specific model and ask the company to put your logo on it. And within 2 months, you'll receive 300 watches at your home with your logo, and you can start selling them. But if you want to do something differently, it's quite the opposite. It's very hard. So rather than having just one supplier, we ended up having over 15 suppliers to create a watch. And the big challenge was to work around the solar technology, because solar watches did exist at the time. There are some company like Citizen and Seiko that do solar powered watches, but they're not built around sustainability. So that was one thing that we didn't see in the industry already. And second, they were not the design that our audience was expecting to buy. So they were more bulky. They had lots of features on them, lots of textures, layers. So it was not that elegant and slick design that our audience was looking to buy. So when we started working with the solar technology, and we wanted to have a very minimal dial, well, that has never been done before. So a dial with no texture, no layers, no features, that would be opaque to the human eye, but still let the light rays go through the dial. So that was a challenge. And we did travel to anywhere. So we were still working at the time, but we took all the vacations to go to Switzerland, France, Japan, Hong Kong, China, the United States. So anywhere where they could build a watch. And we did multiple prototypes. And we told ourselves we would never launch a business until we have a final prototype that we're happy to sell.
And clearly you've succeeded, both because those sales are, the sales are doubling every year. So the customers are loving it. And, telling their friends. But also when you were saying about, how it's opaque to the naked eye, but there's a solar panel underneath that's picking up the light. I can imagine a lot of over a pint or over a cup of coffee, someone telling their friend about their new SOLIOS watch and it being turned over and turned over going, but where's the solar panel? I don't understand. I don't believe you. It'll break, and it's like, no, there's a solar panel in there. Because, it is not, it's not the, design wise, you wouldn't assume there was a solar panel in there. So clearly all the R&D has been paying off. But your business, when you're doubling in size, that's hard enough to achieve and to keep up with from an ops perspective. But I often think team is one of the hardest things to do as you're growing at that rate. So what does your team look like these days? And for anyone who's recruiting at the moment or working on their team structure at the moment, what advice would you have for them?
Well, it's quite a challenge because it really depends on where you are as a business, and being bootstrapped and growing fast. It is a challenge because capital can be an issue from time to time, especially when you have to put a lot of money in your inventory, because when we sell one watch, we have to finance 3 watches for next year, because that's the inventory we're going to need then, which makes it hard to keep capital to hire. But we have to grow our team because there's so much we're trying to achieve. And at first, what did help is that Alex and I didn't pay ourselves for the first 2 years. So that was quite a challenge. We achieved to win some grants and had a minimum salary because of that. But it was quite a challenge. And we decided to, instead of paying ourselves, we hired our first employee who did all the design of the brand, and he's still with us today. And even Carmelo, who joined us as a first employee, at first he was not paid, so he really took a leap of faith prior to the Kickstarter, because he designed the whole Kickstarter. And then we told him, well, if the Kickstarter works, we'll be able to pay you something, and then we'll give you a real salary when we'll be up and running. So you have to find those little arrangement to make it happen. So what happened is that during the first year, he got a percentage on each sales until we were able to pay him a real salary. And then we hired a second person until we started paying ourselves, which was more into growth marketing. So now we're 7 in a team, but it is more challenging now than it was 3 years ago to find good talent. I think it's the context right now. I think it's like that for any business or any industry. But we're looking to hire, because we're opening our first store, so we're looking to hire a team for the store. And then we're looking for a director of operations. We're looking to hire someone more senior in marketing. And we're looking for copywriters and community managers. So we have about 5 or 6 roles that are open right now. And what we notice is that we have to, like people are not looking for jobs. We have to go poach them from other companies, which makes it a bit more challenging. But what we realize is that at first, most of us were junior, trying to figure out how to do things. And now that, it's been 3 years, almost 4 years, now that we're up and running and that we've pretty much done all the basic stuff, but now that we need to optimize and improve, I think that's where we're at the stage where we have to look at more senior people to help bring their experience. And this is where we're at now.
How exciting.
It is, yeah.
And I kind of am hoping that at some point, be it this year or next year, we will start to see in the jobs market a shift of people going, I don't want to work for the banks or big oil or whoever anymore, and I want to go work for a B Corp or similar. As a B Corp who's hiring, do you see any of that element in your applicants? Please tell me it's starting to happen.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I don't think the market itself will have more people wanting job. I think we'll be in that situation, this context for a while, but you're totally right. I think we don't need, well, as a small business being B Corp, I don't think we need more people in the market. We need to convince these people that working for a company that wants to have a positive impact and a big impact, this is something that company like some banks cannot offer. And I think that more and more with what's happening with climate change and with the war going on in Ukraine, I think more and more people want to have that positive impact and they want a job that, yes, they'll be able to perform and do well, but also that they know that their job is creating something bigger than the job itself. So as a company, yes, we have to do marketing to grow and to gain more audience and do more sales, but I think we have to do marketing in terms of employer as well, to prove to people that what we're doing is significant and that we can have a positive impact, and that's why they should come work for us. And we've done it. Lately, we've hired our first senior person who was in a major company as a tech lead, and now he joined us to redo all of our website, because we used to work with agency for the website, thinking that we didn't have any money to hire someone internally to create the website. But what we realized is that we should have hired someone way before, because agencies, we didn't have a good experience with any of the agencies we've worked with the website. I'm not saying that that's true for all the industry, all the agencies. Of course, it depends on the industry and depends on the quality of the agency you take. But we spent way too much money on creating a website that was not up to our expectations, and that's why we said, let's bring that internally, specifically because that's our business. We're an e-com business. We sell through our website, and we didn't control a website. So that was quite painful. And because of who we were, and because we were able to give that person the opportunity to have a positive impact, he decided to come with us, although the conditions were not as good as what he had in the past.
Yeah, so it's starting.
They are, yeah, exactly.
People are voting with their feet and their paycheck, I suppose, to move to better businesses that have a better impact. That's awesome to hear. Yeah. Right, back to things the listeners are probably more interested in then, Sam. One of the things, which is one of the reasons I wanted to get you on the show, is you're a B Corp. You're doing great things in e-commerce. You've got, the right mindset around helping improve the planet, but you're also taking that, to a whole other level, which is you're very focused right from day one on influencing people to live and consume as a society differently to improve the world. So it's not just, here's a watch that ticks enough, ethical boxes for you to feel good about buying it. It's, here's a watch, and then let's educate you to make other better decisions. Is that what you're aiming to do?
That's totally right. And it might sound cheesy, but what really rings the bell to us is when we watched the documentary from Leonardo DiCaprio about Before the Flood. So that was a while ago, and he was the first documentary that we saw, Alex and I think it was a Monday night, really just normal night. And we watched that, and it really shook us, because that's when we realized that although we were well-intentioned, our life habits could be very harmful to the environment. And it's not because we had these bad intentions, it's because we were not aware of those life habits and those impacts. And that also, most solutions already existed. We just were not aware of them, not influenced the proper way to choose those solutions over the more easy one that are always in our face. And of course, there's a lot of things we can improve, a lot of things. I'm not saying that all the solutions already exist, but most of them are already there. It's just that we have to be aware of them. And that's when we said, all right, well, if we're to launch a business, we have to create that positive impact. And for us, because we were not engineering, we didn't have that background to create a new solution. We said, well, why not raise awareness about those already existing solution? And that's why we chose to go with a symbol. Like, what would be a very strong symbol that you wear every day that act as a reminder of, let's say you go to the grocery store and you want a water bottle and then you have your SOLIOS on your wrist. Well, maybe you'll think twice before buying a plastic bottle, and then you'll over time start to carry your own water bottle and just fill it up. And it's all those little details that adds up. And at some point you have a better impact and you improve your life habits. So the goal with SOLIOS, and more specifically the watch, is that a watch is the strongest fashion accessory to make a statement. You can tell a lot about someone just by looking at the watch at his wrist. So people, for instance, don't buy Rolex because the time is more accurate. They buy a Rolex because they want to showcase a kind of their success or financial success, and of course their love for luxury watches. But same goes with SOLIOS. We wanted to create that symbol that, yes, you can still have the style you like, and you can still look good, but you can also do it without harming the planet. So that was more the direct impact, and indirectly we wanted to influence people through that symbol that they're wearing every day.
I love the fact it's like that daily reminder. I think I personally had my scary moment last year when I attended a conference. So it wasn't quite as exciting as watching a Leonardo DiCaprio documentary, but it was equally shit. But I find that now the more habits I gain to do better, the more I think about all my decisions in terms of how I can do better. So pivoting from that slightly, with you're doubling in sales every year. So something about what you're doing is resonating with new customers who want your watches. Are you finding in the customer acquisition side of things that using that eco-sustainable messaging, is that why they buy, or are they buying because here's a cool watch brand?
Well, of course, it plays a major role into having new customers. And I think what even helps more is that we like to say that we're creating a watch that you don't have to compromise. You don't have to compromise on, yes, sustainability, but also on style and also on accessibility. I mean, style is the main factor of why someone would buy a watch. So it's sad to say, but let's say you create a watch that could have a much better impact than ours. If the design is ugly or not what your audience is looking for, they'll never buy it. So I think having a product that doesn't compromise on anything, I think that's where we did a good job at creating something that the audience would want. And then sustainability, of course, plays a major role, because compared to a lot of e-com website, we have a lot of friends in the e-com business, and they're more looking at all the economics, how can they improve their ads and their economic model. But to us, what played the major role is all the media attention we got because we were doing something different in the watch industry, and all the word of mouth. So as you mentioned, trying to find that solar cell or mentioning around a coffee all the how the watch is built and the fact that it's B Corp. I think that's what really brought us many customers, much more than the ads we're doing. So yes, sustainability plays a major role. And what we also realize is that even if you're in a very old industry that's very hard to change, even a small player like us who knew nothing about creating watches, just by traveling and asking questions. And I think that being naive played a major role, because we asked questions that they've never were asked before. And we didn't take no as an answer, or the answer that, well, we've always done it like this. Well, it's not an answer that we liked. We said, well, in the car industry, they're able to do metal coloration in a different way. So why aren't you able to do metal coloration with such a small piece? It shouldn't even be a challenge. And you get a lot of no's, but at some point you get someone who's willing to do it because he believes in the vision. And that's why we ended up having 15 suppliers, is because we did ask those questions. And for every single piece, at some point we found someone who was willing to do it. And we just put all the pieces together and we're able to create this watch. And what we like to say is that we're far from being perfect. And just like your life habits, we can always improve them, and we're all starting somewhere. But the product we created, we will make it more sustainable, more durable, and that we will improve over time. And that's the message we're trying to get out. And yes, I think it resonates with the audience.
E-commerce Master Plan is supported by some of the greatest companies in the e-commerce sector. Here's a reminder of who they are.
I want to tell you about Awesome, spelt OSOME. They are the experts in organising your e-commerce business accounts so you don't have to worry about filing company reports or paying taxes on time. Awesome accountants take care of all your finance admin and are on hand to answer your questions. It's really easy to link your online store, bank accounts and payment systems to the Awesome app, which then keeps track of your spending, profits and financial performance in real time, giving you peace of mind and saving you time too. Plus, using the Awesome system will save your business thousands of pounds every year. To get a demo and find out how much time and money Awesome could save you, go to ecmp.info/awesome, fill in your details and hit the Let's Go button. Make sure you use the link ecmp.info/awesome, that's OSOME, as it will automatically add a coupon to save you £110. Selling via multiple channels is a great way to grow your sales. But whether you're juggling a list of wholesale customers or multiple marketplace listings, keeping the data up to date and in the right format, never mind the images, is hugely time-consuming. Plytix, Plytix, can solve this for you, voted the #1 PIM for SMBs. Plytix gives you a single source of truth for all your product data, streamlining your marketplace listings management, automatically reformatting your data into the right format for each marketplace, including image resizing. And you can create a self-serve product information site for wholesale customers. Then keep all these channels up to date with automatic product feeds. Plytix have a free forever plan, so sign up for your free PIM account now at plytix.com/masterplan. That's plytix.com/masterplan. And if you decide to upgrade, e-commerce masterplan listeners get a whopping 50% off their first year.
It's time for the top tips round.
Okay, I love this section because it gives me and our listeners some really quick ideas for taking our business to the next level. So Sam, are you ready for the top tips?
Let's do it.
Okay, the book top tip. If everyone listening to this podcast agreed to take Friday off and read a book to make their business better, which book would you recommend?
About business, I think that, and it's a classic, and this one really resonated with me because sometimes you might think you're doing something well, but something that just doesn't add up, or you feel that there's something you can improve. And the book Good to Great really made me focus on what is truly essential and what truly adds value, because it's really easy to be stuck with ideas that sound important, and they probably are, but maybe they're not just like the one you should prioritize. And Good to Great really helps you focus on what really is important and what will make your business great, rather than just good. But well, good is good, but great is even better. So this is definitely a book I would recommend. Another book that is a bit different. It's not about how can you make your business better, but makes you realize that it's a marathon, and then there are no shortcuts, and that you have to work very hard to achieve your dream. It's the story of Phil Knight, the founder of Nike. So the book is called Shoe Dog. But what I really like about this book is he never talks about when the business is going well. He only talks about all the issues and the problem and the challenges he had. And when finally, because of course Nike's Nike, so of course at some point it went well. But when the business started going well, that's when the book ends. So it's a really good book to help you realize what it takes to launch a business. But you don't have to be an expert about anything. I think just being someone who likes do problem solving and just really push to achieve your dream. I think Shoe Dog, it's a book that you can read within one day because it's just so good.
Oh, I love those two recommendations. I'm going to add a third because I can, which is once you've read Good to Great, read Great by Choice, which is the follow-up, which analyzes the strategies though some of the biggest businesses have used. So it's like, I think they work really well together. So I thought we ought to mention that one too. I can actually see Sam writing that down as we're talking. So we've influenced him. Okay, the traffic top tip. Which marketing method do you either prize above all others or think doesn't get the press it deserves?
So, well, I think we spoke a little bit about it, but I think people should really focus on the product they're creating and the story they're trying to say or to get out, because the media, I think, after we launched through Kickstarter, but after Kickstarter, like what really make us grow, it was first article in a major newspaper here in Montreal, and that's only because of the story and the product we had. If you're doing something that is already exists or is just presented differently, I don't think it's innovative enough. I think focusing a lot on what you're doing and what you're saying will really help you gain new customer and media attention. So for us, media for sure. And for some people, it's not a strategy, but having good customer service and that good product and that good experience really creates a huge amount of word of mouth. It's hard to quantify, but definitely when we look at our customer acquisition cost, most of the job is done by word of mouth rather than just ads or just that thing that you can always measure. So I would say that focusing on word of mouth to me is a strategy, and it was a good one.
But like you said, just with the media, if your story and your product aren't good enough, you're not going to get the word of mouth and you're not going to get the media. So it's, those 4 years were very well spent getting everything ready. Okay, the tool top tip, maybe a collaboration tool, a social media plugin, a phone app, or just a way of working. Is there a cool little tool you use that makes you and your team more efficient from day to day?
To be honest, I think a major mistake we've done is trying to rebuild the website over time and again and again and again and again. I think that we were always picturing those features that we wanted on the website, and you spend so much time trying to build them, and finally, in the end, they're not being used so much by your audience, or they took you so much time to create and to build that you're missing the bigger picture. So I think. Not overthinking the website is something important. And the mistake we've done is we left Shopify to go on WordPress to be able to create a website that is more exactly how we wanted to design it. And then we came back to Shopify. So I think just focus on Shopify and work around it. And I think, again, the story will talk by itself, and it's more the story than the website itself. So Shopify was good, but then what did help, and it's more on the operation side, and of course I'm a bit focused on that topic, but it was to have a good OMS and IMS system to manage inventory. Because at some point when you have to work with 10 and 15 suppliers, I was doing all of my orders on Excel, and we have many places where we have inventory, and we work with partners as well. And it was impossible for us to manage properly our inventory and our purchase. And what happened is that in the first 2 years, we were always sold out. Of course, the pandemic didn't help, but we were always sold out on the best models, and we weren't able to work with good partners because we couldn't manage the inventory properly. So it's not something that is long to put in place. And I'm mentioning that because I'm sure on the podcast, well, I know on the podcast you have like true expert about SEO and Google Ads and lots of growth strategies like that. But make sure that you can manage your inventory properly before thinking, of course, growing is super important, but having a good inventory system is something that's going to help you to grow even quicker without always having to look in the back.
I love that. I think the back end software doesn't get talked about enough, and that a lot of people don't realize it exists and are like, well, I have to manage all this by spreadsheets. This is a nightmare. No, you need an IMS system, an inventory management system. You'll be fine. So I love the fact you've gone down that route with that question. Okay, the last one, the growth top tip. If you met someone today who's focused on growing their e-commerce business from 100 orders per month to 1,000, what would be your number one tip for them?
So what we did, again, I'll go back to PR, but there's a way to do PR because let's say, okay, good, I want to be featured in media's newspaper, etc. Like, how do we do it? And what we realized is that there's no magic. At first, it was just Alex and I when we started SOLIOS, and every single day, Alex and I, we had a list of journalists that we created ourselves. So we did like all the Google's research about the newspaper, the keyword we wanted to be featured on. And we wrote emails, personalized email to all those journalists. And the answer rate was probably less than 1%. So it's not a job that is exciting, and it feels very hard to continue and to push, but at some point it's going to pick up, and at some point you're going to have that first article or other article, and that's how it's going to pick up. So just doing like the groundwork and just writing emails to the people you think who should talk about the company, that's really got us started. And then, of course, when we did the launch event, so we did the Kickstarter event, we still had our job at the time. We wanted to create that Kickstarter event to organically, just to prove that there is a demand for the product, and we didn't want to have a artificial demand. So that's why we kept our job. And if the demand was not there, we would say, maybe it's not a good idea. But just that night, we were able to achieve our objective completely, and almost did 3 times. And I think just writing personally to people, it's something that takes time, but that is very important. So being personal, I think it's something that you have to do.
I really like that. That was very cool of you. Well, look, Sam, thank you so much for being on the show. Before we say goodbye, would you like to let the listeners know where they can find you and your business on the web and social, please?
Sure. So, thank you very much for having me, Chloe. It's a real pleasure being here. And you can find us at solioswatches.com. Of course, Solios Watches on Instagram and all the social media platform as well. As you will see, we're launching new product pretty much every month here and there. And we've created a coupon code. We don't do discount on the watch. We've never done any discount on the watch. We're already trying to make the watch as accessible as possible, but all the straps are easily interchangeable because since the watch is solar powered, we don't want people to buy more than one Solios. We just want them to change the watch over time. So with the coupon code Masterplan, you can get an extra watch if ever they want on the website. And of course, my name's Samuel Leroux. If you have any questions, you can find me on LinkedIn. So please don't hesitate to do that as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Sam, so much for coming on. It's been fascinating chatting to you. And hopefully we've inspired some more people to follow in your footsteps and to take that sustainable piece and make it really core to their business and how they're educating their customers. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. Thanks again.
What a fascinating guest. I thoroughly enjoyed my chat with Sam. I have an A4 sheet in front of me where I make all my notes as I'm recording each of these episodes, and I don't think I've covered it in more pen ink ever before in an episode. Sometimes it's almost empty, sometimes it's crazy full. Today it is crazy full. Just to quickly reiterate that offer, if you fancy yourself with a SOLIOS watch on your hand, if you use the code MASTERPLAN, you will get a second strap for free. So you get the interchangeable straps. That's what the deal is there. I'm going to be taking them up on that deal because I love the idea of having a watch that starts some more of these eco conversations. But I think for me, the really core thing that sits through everything Sam was talking about is the importance of the story, the brand, and the quality of the product, and how all those things come together in order to be kind of the beating heart, the power at the center of everything else a business does. And I think that is something which clearly those 4 years they spent perfecting it and getting it right and understanding why they were trying to do all of this has made sense. And if you go and take a look at their website, you'll see how they've woven it really well, I think, despite what he was saying about websites, into the whole site and how they get that story across. And it goes right the way from the materials they make the watches out of and how they make the watches and how the watches last and encouraging people to keep them for a long time, through to recycling your old watches to get a discount, through to they give back by protecting rainforest in return for every purchase. So it's a really all-encompassing process that they talk about, and that's the thing we all need to do more of, is not to green hush but to get our stories out there. So as you can tell, I really enjoyed that conversation. It's given me a lot to think about. So you can get your hands on our notes from today's show, including the top tips and links to what we've mentioned, by heading over to ecommercemasterplan.com/podcast, or use our new special direct to episode links. Just put ecmp.info/episode number into the URL bar and you'll go to the correct page straight away. When you're on your website, make sure you add yourself to our email list so you don't miss out on any of the other things I share to help you improve your business. Because we put lots of cool recommendations and advice and things out in our newsletters every Tuesday. And thank you so much for tuning into this and every episode that you do of the e-commerce master plan podcast. I bring you a new one of these interviews every single week in order to inspire and help business owners like you to succeed and thrive with your businesses, including progressing along the path to net zero. So if you know someone this show can help, please, please, please tell them to listen to the e-commerce master plan podcast. I hope you have an excellent week, and do not forget to keep optimizing.
Thank you for listening to the e-commerce master plan podcast. Find out more at ecommercemasterplan.com/podcast.
If you're marketing an e-commerce brand, you already know that data changes everything. More data means more power. And if your email or SMS tools can't handle all that data, they're probably holding you back. That's where Clavio comes in. Its top-notch personalization and segmentation help you send the right message at the right time, guided by unlimited real-time data from your online store and tech stack. Request a demo at clavio.com/masterplan. That's KLAVIYO.com/masterplan.